I think we can all agree that in Royale High, there's nothing more annoying than somebody feeling like they're entitled to your items when you won't accept their trade. However, in this particular instance and with this rant, I'm actually on this person's side because the amount of inflation that has to do with the new Sweetheart top is crazy. For a top that costs between 20,000 and 26,000 diamonds, for people to be selling it for 150k, that's a little crazy. That's a little bit crazy. And I've seen a lot of people talking about this, and I see the argument, oh, well, you're not forced to buy it, or people saying, well, you're not being fair. And so I want to give my 2 cents while I read this rant with you guys. Now, earlier today, I was able to do like the mermaid quest and actually got this top on my first mermaid shop, which I was really shocked by because that was the whole reason I did the quest, was to try and hopefully get this top eventually. And when I got it the first try, my jaw dropped. I was very, very happy. So this is my cute little avatar. But regardless, for those that don't know, the Sweetheart top is a new top that is part of the mermaid shop, and it typically retails for about 20,000 to 26,000 diamonds. Now, I've seen people saying it has different prices for them. I paid 26,000 something diamonds for mine. I saw somebody else paying 24,000, so the price does seem to be a little bit different across different players. However, this top has been highly wanted, and there's unfortunately some people who abuse the top and make it look inappropriate. However, I think it's a really pretty top, and that's why personally I'm wearing it on my avatar. Now, when I originally was going to try and find one of these tops, I decided to go to Tradery because that's how I do all of my trading. And I go to Tradery, and you can imagine my surprise when I see the top is listed for 150,000 diamonds. I'm gonna be honest, I thought maybe do I have the wrong top? Like, is this messed up? Because there's a lot of people, which no hate to you guys, but will spell Sweetheart top as Sweat Heart top. S-W-E-A-T. It's supposed to be S-W-E-E-T, just so you guys know. Is the amount of people who are like trading Sweat Heart top. I just think it's really funny. It reminds me of Diary of the Wimpy Kid when they bought like a dog dish for like the dog and it said Sweaty instead of Sweetie. But regardless, basically, I came across this rant that was posted 7 days ago on the Royale High subreddit, and I want to read it to you guys because I think this person really does encapsulate just kind of the frustration of the community and how many different aspects there are to this problem, and then I'm going to give you guys my opinion at the end, and I want to know your guys' opinions as well on this in the comment section below. So this person writes, just a small rant, and of course, I will be blurring your username just because I don't want this person getting harassed. However, when you post stuff online, there is no expectation of privacy, so please keep that in mind. But regardless, they write just a small rant. So recently, I had beef with somebody in the mermaid trading server. I was trying to get the new Sweetheart bod for less than 50k, as I think that 100,000 plus for the new bod is outrageous, as I've seen players selling it for 140 to 150k, and I barely see anyone who's buying the top for that price, and almost everyone is trying to get the bod for only 30 to 35k or less, which to already do a 10,000 diamond markup, I feel like is a little bit steep, but I feel 35k is where you should cut that off, okay? Like, selling it for any more, in my opinion, is like robbery, but you know, people can decide what they want to do with their diamonds. They go on to say, I was going to offer more reset parts, and I've also said that 100k is a bit too unreasonable for the top that only costs about 27k or less in the mermaid shop, which I'm seeing so many different numbers for how much this top costs. I guess it's different for everybody, but I paid 26k, somebody else paid 24k, I don't know. The person that asked for my offer completely disappeared, and a player stepped in, explaining that no one is being forced to buy the bod for 100k more, and that is just how values work, as everyone profits from trades. Which, side note, yes, trading and profiting from trading is how people get rich. That's how I got my halos. That's how I got all my items. That is obviously part of, you know, what goes into a trading game. However, in my opinion, what's not part of a trading game is literally price gouging players and like selling an item for like 5 times, 6 times more than you originally bought it for. I personally think that is robbery. I think that's really crazy. And it artificially inflates the prices of the items for everybody else. So if you list your item for 150k, other players think, oh, I'll just list mine for 150k too. And then the item basically becomes virtually unattainable, and it falsely inflates the price of that item when, in my opinion, it's not worth more than 35k. Regardless, they go on to say, I replied that setting up 140k to 150k for the new bot is a bit too much, since you can get the bot for only about 28k or less in the mermaid shop. It gives other players who want the bot less opportunity due to its price. They mentioned that the Sweetheart top decreased to about 80k, but it doesn't change the fact that some players will insist on selling it for that price and continue to sell it for 100k more. I recently saw a player asking the seller how much they were selling their Sweetheart top for. The seller said the seller was selling it for 140k to 150k, and before I could even say to her just buy the top for less, she said that she was going to pass. When I told the person I was talking with that I'm not forcing players to buy the top for less, they mentioned the person that I told to buy the top for less, I wasn't even forcing them, but I was just implying that 150k for a new bot is not worth it. They mentioned that's how values work, but it doesn't change the fact that 100k plus in diamonds is still too much for the top. A player went in and said that if I'm too broke, just don't play the game. Whoa. It's giving like the Pokemon clip where she's like, if you're broke, just say it. Very, very out of touch, very distasteful. Whatever. Okay, that's rude. It's not worth it. The image of Ellie's work. I've seen some high-level players being demotivated due to the new items costing so much. I play the game because it's fun to dress up, but sometimes it can also be draining for me. I believe they said something more, but I was too focused on the actual topic about overpricing items. I was trying to say that it's still unfair for some players. They told me to farm. I do farm, but I rarely get any diamonds. I also don't have the diamond game passes, so I do art commissions at that, as that is the easiest way for me to earn diamonds. I mentioned to them that is different from others. Farming is pretty hard for some players, and trading is time consuming for some players when you take hours just to sell one item. That's all. Which, side note, if you do commissions, feel free to go to my Discord server and send me your stuff for if you're doing Royale High commissions, because I want to see this person's art looks like. But regardless, there is obviously a lot of comments under this post. This person writes, it's being 100k makes no sense to me besides the shop featuring random items each day, but that should make it go for 30 to 40k instead of 100k, which that's what I'm confused by. Typically when item prices like skyrocket, it's because there's a limited quantity, but right now there is an unlimited quantity because every day that you're in the mermaid shop, just a new top can basically be sold there, right? Because it resets. You have a chance of getting this top technically every single day. So every day, more of these tops are being purchased, i.e. I just purchased one like 45 minutes before making this video. So now there's 1+1 just from me purchasing it in the circulation of this item. Which I guess you could transfer that to meaning that the item just went down in value because I got a copy. Because the more there is of an item, the less the item is worth, if that makes sense, right? This person writes, got the bot in the shop for 25k. Don't accept anything more than what you think is reasonable. If they don't get trades, they'll have nothing else to do other than shut the F up. I don't know what everyone's problem is with overpricing things. And the original poster replies, yeah, everyone ganging up on me in the server. One person said that I was right, but a few seconds later, I don't get her point. And this person goes on to say, honestly, don't stress about it. Personally, I don't even bother anymore because I don't like going back and forth with people that only argue to be right. They in their right mind to begin with if they're selling something for 25 to 30k for over 50k. Which, side note, I find like the peer pressure and the absolute dogpiling in the trading servers to be like crazy. And this isn't obviously about Royale High, it's more so about like the player base. But when I joined the trading server, which keep in mind, I don't have chat. I'm not gonna give Roblox my face. I think that's really weird. No, thank you. So I haven't been able to chat in Royale High. But basically what people were doing was they were either using their display names, which is what I've been using, or they've been using like the trading feature. You just send someone a trade, you accept the trade, then you chat within the trade chatting features. And oh my goodness, the way people are trying to like, I don't even know, like gaslight me into thinking that, you know, their item was worth way more than it was, or that I am never going to get this deal again. Like the amount of gaslighting is crazy, especially with this top. I was seeing some people fight about the top when they were like, they're basically typing with whiteboards and using their like display names, like roleplay names in the game. And they were fighting with roleplay names. So everyone in the server was just like, but it's crazy. It's crazy the amount of, you know, dogpiling people do. And I find actually, which this is quite calculated, and I'm gonna be honest, very smart, but also really evil. People will bring their friends into a server, which I'm gonna be honest, in real life, we'll do this on Facebook Marketplace. Like if one of my friends sees something they really want, they'll be like, oh my God, Pommy, can you send them a message and lowball them? Then I'll send them a message. And like, people do that, right? That's part of like everyday life. People do that. That's like something that's pretty typical. And I would say people rarely fold for that kind of stuff, especially on Facebook Marketplace, because it's just kind of iffy. But that's what I see people doing in Royale High, is that they'll like join a server and then have their friends like lowball somebody, lowball them with trades. And then the person who actually wants the item will then go in and trade and give like a decent trade. It's not maybe the best, but it'll be decent. And so the person so used to getting all these lowball trades, you'll be like, oh, finally something's a little bit decent, and they'll be more likely to accept that trade even if it isn't that good, because of, in comparison to the other trades they've been getting, it's actually very good. So there's a lot going on in the trading hub right now, and a lot of people playing mind games, and like it's insane. Regardless, this person writes, I had a similar fight with someone who was selling something overpriced, and the person said, you're not forced to buy it. Girl, be effing for real. I saw someone also selling it for 200k, and it was one of those players who was wearing sexual lingerie, by the way. Anyways, the whole server said it was outrageous and they left. I recommend, since it's a rare item, it will appear at some point in your shop and you should wait for it. I'm not going to buy it for 100k. When the shop, it's max 30 to 40k on average from what I've heard. Which also, for any of you guys that want the top, I would highly encourage you to just wait. Primarily because as the mermaid shop continues to sell things, every day that top typically actually, like, in theory, becomes worth less than the day before because there's more copies in circulation. And so if you wait longer, you will probably, even if you don't get your shop, you will pay astronomically less for the top in the future. I think a lot of people are paying really high amounts just because it's a new item and everyone's super excited that it's new. But in reality, it's a beautiful top, but it is 100% not worth 200k. So please do not spend that amount of money on this item. I think that'd be crazy. If you really, 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 really want it, then I would go to Tradery and try and trade items rather than spending diamonds directly on it, because I find people tend to be a little bit more fair when it comes to item values, because those are like more debatable than like actual physical diamonds. But that's just my 2 cents. And finally, this person says, I like how these people try to sell these items for ridiculous prices. Meanwhile, I get passive aggression, sorry, because how dare I try to sell for prices that don't get me losing diamonds. Like, I'd be in chat and someone would say, but I've seen someone sell it for 5k somewhere. Okay, I'm going off recent listings on Tradery though. Ones that look legit. It's just some profit. Please, I'm not a pro trader, but I'm not being greedy. Which I have to say, I think the thing that people like, there's kind of like 2 sides to this, and some people expect people to sell the top, like resell it or trade it for the same price that they bought it for. And personally, I don't think that's reasonable. Obviously, when there's supply and demand and, you know, a limited supply currently based on what's been sold in the shop, the item will be worth a little bit more than what you purchased it for. I think, you know, obviously selling it for maybe 10k more, 15k more even, I'd say that's okay. Like 35k, 40k, you're kind of pushing it. But anytime you like double the price, what it costs the item to purchase it, like at that point, you're just a big box retailer. Like, what's going on here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is the exact same thing that happens in real life. Anything you've seen at, you know, little boutiques and stuff like that, you could probably find on Shein, because unfortunately there are a lot of stores that will do kind of drop shipping sort of stuff, or they will buy something for cheaper and then hike the price up to make it look like the item is more valuable. And unfortunately, I think that's what's happening here. So, although I'm not saying that people have to sell it for the same price they purchased it for, they obviously don't, I do think it's important to, you know, have a moral compass and not be completely unethical with how you're, you know, pricing things. And if you're going to price something astronomically high, at the very least, don't, you know, dog on people for disagreeing with that, because I think to a degree it comes across distasteful by the wider community when it seems like you're trying to take advantage of people's desperation for a top. I get that people want to make profit, but you can make profit ethically without having to take advantage of people's desperation. But regardless, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. I've seen so many different thoughts on this and a lot of people kind of on both sides. So let me know down below what you think is a fair price for this top. Would you actually purchase this top from another player, or are you just going to wait for the shop? Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye!